This is just going to be a really short webinar to show you the payroll software, which I should have shown you yesterday. So what we're going to go through is Cintra Cloud. So that is the outsourced payroll provision. So that's how, as individually in a school, you can interact to make sure all of your new starters, leavers are in the system, any pay changes, and then submit your payroll. And then I'm also going to show you Cintra Groups, which is what your SLT team would have in order to consolidate all the reporting. So I am going to be logged in as one of yourselves as a business manager representative. So I would just see my payroll. So this is what you would see. Just to go through the tiles on left to right, we've got your net pay, starters, leavers, one-off payments, and salary and allowances. In an ideal world, what we would like to have is the integration with your software. I believe it's Bromcom. So we'd want that to be integrated. So we're going to pull through all of your new starters, all of your salary changes. So this, in effect, should just become a checking tool. But you can also then bulk import payments such as your overtimes, which I understand at the moment you're doing on a spreadsheet. The key difference about our software compared to your incumbent's software is, first of all, the visibility. So this is all based off the live data that you've submitted. So what that means is when you submit the payroll, you can clearly see the figures that we're working with. So in terms of accuracy, we're all working from the same page. And this cloud software is directly linked to the payroll software, which your payroll admin team will be running your payroll off. The supplier that you have at the moment, there isn't that direct link into the payroll software. Someone's having to manually pull and pop that software in, which is why you're getting errors. Obviously, just because of the lack of the human interaction that's involved in that process. So just so you're sort of clear on the differences with this software. If we start at the start of the journey with new starters, so like I said, ideally, we want this to be fed through via an integration, but I am going to show you how to do everything manually as well, because you might not want to switch that integration on to start with. So with your new starters, you can see all of your new starters here. To add a new starter, you just click the wizard. You can either do it on an individual basis, filling in the employee's details, or bulk downloading a spreadsheet template. The spreadsheet has got built-in validation within it. So if you go to re-upload the spreadsheet rather, and say you've got numbers where there's letters or you've added too many zeros and it looks wrong, the system will flag that and there'll be error rows underneath for you to be able to go through and sense check and then confirm you're happy with that submission. All of your new starters will then show here. You can see if you've completed the HMRC starter checklist or not, and you can view the start dates. You can view employees' pay details. So this is essentially looking at an employee's pay slip, and you can use the toggles to go backwards if they ask you about a retrospective month. The whole purpose of this is just to sort of eradicate the need for, if you do get a query from your employee, having to go back to the payroll team to ask what went on. You can clearly see here everything that happened within that pay period. You can then come on and edit employee information. Again, ideally, if the integration switched on, we would have this as a read only. So it's just checking all the information is fed through and you're happy with it. But to start with, you might not want that integration switched on. So this is where you can come in. You can update payment details. You can update their working patterns. If they need to be added to another post, you can add that on here as well. Update their costing details. You can also split the cost center per employee. So if you have an employee working at 2 sites, that can be split on the cost codes. And you can also update the HMRC starter checklist as well as the employee's holiday entitlement. All of these tabs you can download to a CSV. So if you do want to do your own reporting, we've got reporting functionality built in the other modules, but on this one, you could export it if you wanted to. If we then look at salary and allowances, this is going to show all of your dates, the FTE, the amount and the gross period, and your variance. The variance is just a really, really nice way to quickly check if this is as it should be. So obviously, if you had no incremental pay or no change, these should all be zeros. So if you can quickly see anything that's got any variance, you know something might be amiss there before we submit the payroll. Again, if you want to update anyone's salary allowance, we've got the download. All the headings are pre-populated and you would just fill that in and upload it. The system is fully fully date driven rather. So if you want to backdate or pro rata payments, you just put the relevant dates in and the system will do the rest for you. We've got this advanced view. So if you do want to start to do your own reporting and manipulation, you can just start to tick and untick the fields that you're bothered about, pop it into a report. Again, we're just trying to reduce that bottleneck of you having to either go to your payroll provider or your central team to be able to produce a report for you. One-off payments, this is where your likes of overtime is going to come into play. So we've got all of your one-off payments here to view. You can start to view them by heading or by cost code if you want to drill down a little bit further, also by importers. And you've also got a nice by heading summary view just to view each of these. So if I just wanted to look at the overtime, we'd obviously build your different overtime rates into the system, and you can clearly see everyone's overtime rates. With the overtime, this will show on an employee's payslip. So if they get paid overtime, we will itemize each of those overtimes, when the date was and what the rate was, just to give that employee as much visibility as we can. If you want to add any one-off payments, again, you can do it on a per employee basis. We would build these headings for you during the implementation. Obviously, it's a demo site, so there's lots of bits and bobs going on here, but it's just going to be what's relevant for you. Again, date-driven, so you put the relevant dates in, pop the amount in. If you do want to cross-charge a cost center, you can flick that on here and update that yourself. Or there is always the option just to do the bulk import. So I understand at the moment you've got a spreadsheet for your overtimes. So this is something you can then just bulk import into this software. We've then got your net pay. So this is the page we started on. Again, just looking at everyone's gross, net and their variances and the total cost. You can start to build your own reports on these. So you've got a few options here, a gross to net, a pay element summary, a pensions report. These are reports that you have full empowerment to go on and be able to run yourself. Again, you don't need to wait for us to do that. In terms of the actual submission of your payroll, so we would ask you to hit this submit button at the top. Now, I understand there's different permissions, and typically it tends to be your headmaster or your deputy head who would formally submit the payroll. So we can have this so it's only the submitting button is only relevant for the employee who has the ability to formally submit your payroll. We would ask for you to submit the payroll. That then gets locked down. With education, we do 2 sets of checking reports. So we would ask you to submit it. We'd send you the checking reports back. We ask you to do a final check, and then we would make the payments via backs. But if you did want to shorten that, you can have 1 round of checking. All of our pay schedules are all on our website, where you can download those, pop your working day in, and see when all the pay details and pay submission will need to be done by. So once you've submitted your payroll, the software will be locked. We obviously can't have you going in and making any other edits while we're running your payroll. Once we have run the payroll, we'll send you your checking reports back. The reports are up to you. Typical ones would be a pay variance summary. Just going to see if this will bring up here. You can set this to a certain threshold or no threshold at all, but it's going to look at the current, previous, and the variance across all of your pay elements, so you can clearly see where they've occurred. A summary payslip report, I believe your auditors ask for this. Just a nice way to quickly see everyone's payslip over a few pages. We also have HMRC audit reports. That wasn't a good example to show you, but this one would be there. Sorry, the demo site has let me down on that one. And then your journals. So we can do a custom journal build for you at implementation. So all this would mean is we'd pop your journals here. You then just have to download it and upload it, and no manual intervention is needed. Once you're happy with the payroll, we would then ask you this button, the submit button would change to approve, and then it would change to authorize payroll, the payment, allowing us to do that backs payment for you. Again, that button is only going to be there for the employees that have access to authorize their payment. In terms of your support, so you have a dedicated team. Within the team, there's 7 to 8 payrollers who are all CIPP qualified. I understand at the moment you feel like you're sort of advising your incumbent supplier, particularly around maternity pay. All of our payrollers are there to advise you. You're paying for an outsourced service, you're paying for that advice, and that's what we're going to deliver. Although you're in a team, we do ask that we give you one point of contact to speak with. So obviously, as much as possible, we want you to have that one person who you've got a direct number for. But we want the whole team to be comfortable with your payroll, because if somebody goes off, obviously the rest of the team need to be able to pick it up if someone's on holiday. As well as that direct number, there's a messaging functionality here. This is where you can send a message to your payroll team. So whether that be confirming, attaching a MAP B1, whether that be just checking something, you can send this, it's going directly to your team, and then you can also CC in your colleagues. So as a business manager, you might want to CC in your deputy head just to say, just so you know, I've queried this ahead of you submitting the payroll. It's basically a ticketing system where you've got a full update of if it's in progress or if the issue has been resolved. And then you can see the full chat history. So you're not having to go back through lots and lots of emails. Everything's consolidated in one place. We then have this settings tab here. So this is where you can start to see who's got access to do what on your database. So you can clearly see everyone's permissions on the software. So that is, as a business development manager, what you'd be doing in principle. So you have your own school that you can see, all permission-based. You can clearly make any changes. So your starters, leavers, one-off payments, salary and allowances. And then we ask for the submission and approval. And then you've got that reporting functionality as well. As standard, we do a quarterly session with all of our customers. We try to group you by sector. So you would obviously be in the education sector. Within that quarterly review, we sit you down with our development team and the other clients in the same sector, ask how you're getting on. It's just a really nice way for you to meet other clients in the same sector, see if they're utilising the software slightly differently, and also provide your feedback to the dev team. This is where the dev team are going to show you anything that we're doing to the portal, and they categorise it. So if it's an improvement, if it's just a general announcement, so this was about our conference, that's all going to show in one place. And you can give your feedback. Be careful of the feedback. I put a sad face once by accident, and Mark Faulkner, who heads up this product, was straight on my case asking why I didn't like it. So I'd only put a sad face if you actually don't like the software, would be my advice. Cintra groups then, I'm just going to flick into another demo account. This is where, from a senior leadership point of view, they're going to be able to see all of the schools in one place to have that consolidated reporting. So they're going to be able to see all of the total costs, the year-on-year costs, all employees, all the pay elements. Each of these they can drill down into slightly more, again, with that live reporting that you as business development managers have for your school. And then we can see, these would be all of the schools, so ignore the names, but these would be all the different schools. And then your SLT team can quickly go in and see what's going on within that school. The last thing to show you is from the employee side of things, how they get their pay slips. So I understand at the moment you don't really obviously do holidays because your term time, but absence is being logged in Bromcom. So this would solely be there to show pay slips and documents. We do have the ability to export pay slips. So if you did want pay slips to sit in Bromcom, so your employees are just logging into one place, that's something we can absolutely explore with you. This is the Employee Hub as standard. It's a mobile app as well, so iOS and Android friendly. This is the employee profile. If you want them to be able to have the ability to update any personal details, they can come in and do this here, and we can set multi-levels of approval up on that. Any documents will be pushed here. This could be like a maternity pay schedule where we're clearly going to show the expectant mother what pay she's on and when she can expect to receive that. And then we've got the pay slip. So with the pay slips, this would have your logo here at the top. Employees can download the pay slips if they need them for any mortgage applications or anything like that. We've got what everyone's most bothered about at the top, everyone's net pay, and then the full breakdown here. And they've got all of their pay slips along here. I'm just going to see if we've got an example of overtime to show you how it splits out. So this, if we pretend this didn't say commission and it said overtime instead, it's going to clearly list when that overtime occurred and the rate it was at, so they can then see their total amount, like I referenced earlier, just giving your employees that extra sense of visibility. We do have holiday and absence, but again, we're not going to worry about that because you're already logging this. So that is the Employee Hub in a nutshell. So yeah, thank you again for listening. I know that was a whistle-stop tour, but I hope that all makes sense. The other thing I didn't mention was on the employees, P45s and everything that's done as standard, and P32, so that will be pushed out to the hub as well. So thank you very much for listening. And if you've got any questions, please just email me.